Was we? You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive because I went to the page.
And it said we was live.
Yeah, well, we live now.
Oh man, welcome to another episode of the Flagrant Tool with X and Lou. Lou over here, X over there, and man, oh man, oh man, man. All right. So we're gonna just jump right into it. I mean, just rip the band-aid off at this point. Um,
Do it.
X, man, did the Knicks drop the ball, or are they smart? Are they the smartest? Are they smartest front office in the league right now? Did they drop the ball?
I mean, the Knicks is always dropping the ball. Let's be honest. If they didn't drop the ball, they wouldn't be called the Knicks at this point. But
Ouch.
yeah,
Ouch.
bro. Look, but we are lifelong fans.
Lifelong
I'm one of the.
suffering fans.
That's what I'm
Jeez.
saying. So like, I'm one of the people who just real like. I don't even get my. You just numb at this point where it's just like,
Yeah,
all right, cool, it happened. But it's just like at the end of the day, is for this thing, it's a good and a bad.
I feel the same way.
Because like the good is obviously is like, yo, you don't want to give up all these picks, and it's just like hopefully this is a transition into like, all right, let's move forward and actually build and develop and
Mhm.
do this, that, and the third. And obviously the bad is because you wanted a star, somebody who's
You
at
wanted
least
to
an
start, yeah.
all-star level.
Yeah,
This
of course.
he I ain't gonna sit here, everybody superstar this, superstar that. He
Yep.
all-star level caliber player. And you at least need one of those that at least start the build of getting a superstar. So some people who could put you over the edge.
Yep.
Because like right now, we got to think about it. The big three is Randall, RJ, and
And
Brunson.
Brunson. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a report that says that the initial package that was offered to the Jazz at the beginning of free agency, at the beginning of the offseason, was RJ, Mitch Robinson, with the sign and trade, Mitch Robinson with a sign and trade, RJ Barrett, and 4 picks, 3 unprotected first, 1 protected. And the Jazz declined. Now, if that report is true, the Jazz probably declined their best offer because that offer trumps the offer that they got from the Cavs. If that report
Hmm.
is true. Think about it.
I
Think
don't
about it
know.
though.
How does Trump it though?
Think about it. You're getting from what the Jazz collected from the Cavs. They got three unprotected, and they got 2 swaps. The two
Yeah.
swaps are either second or first. They're contingent on the Cavs. Then you get Colin Sexton, which is probably the biggest name in that trade. Which, if you're going to compare it to the Knicks, RJ Barrett would have been the biggest name in that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would have had Laurie McKenna, blah, blah,
Marketing.
blah. Yeah,
Marketing.
you would have had him. But I consider Obi a better high end projected player because you already know what Laurie is. You don't know what Obi is going to be. Like Obi, he's still young. He still hasn't developed into the player he's going to be going forward. Whether it be a role player, 6 man, whatever it is, he hasn't developed into that player yet. He's still developing. He's still young. With this, he's going into his 3rd year. Laurie, on the other hand, he's been in the league for 5 years. This will be his 3rd team. You know what you're getting from Laurie. Yeah, he can stretch the floor. Granted, his defense is just as good as Obi's at this point. I mean, you're not counting on Laurie to be defensive. And then you get the rookie that
Mhm.
they drafted this year, which the ceiling is still, you don't know what you're gonna get. He's still a rookie. You don't know what you're gonna get. And I think that was the 18th pick or something like that, the 19th. I'm not really sure what pick that was, but they sent the rookie that they selected this year over to, well, one of them. I think what they had like 2 or 3 picks this year. So I think they sent one
Mhm.
of those picks. I think the second one, and then that was it. There's no cash consideration because at the end of the day, I believe they still had the cat to make it work in order to get Mitch.
Yeah.
But I think that when you look at it, yeah, now the Jazz, what they have a collective 15 picks so far, 15, And you look at that and you're like, okay, well, they're kind of on the OKC thing, but they still have these expiring contracts that they want to get rid of with Clarkson, um, uh, Bogdan, and Conley. The Knicks trade kind of would have worked out a little bit better because one, if you don't do a straight up trade, especially with RJ, you don't do a straight up trade, right? Now it's a 3-team trade. You're dumping off Evan because they didn't want Evan Fournier because they didn't want to buy him out. Understandable. Kind of why they don't want Westbrook because they don't want to buy him out. They want to hold on to their cash. I understand that. Going forward, you want the flexibility with the cap. But that cap would only had hit you for this year, depending on the buyout. You're already going into the season with the intentions of tanking. So how much cap did you really need this year? That it's not like the cap is going to roll over into next year. You're gonna have the cap this year. Whatever, right? So, in my opinion, I still think that the trade, if this is true, because we don't know if it's true, speculation. Nobody's really confirmed. Woj has said that this is the trade, but who's trickling this information? Can I get the Windhurst? Like, where's this information coming from? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it's wise for the Knicks to kind of play this to the media because it's like, you're already lost the trade. You're not getting the player that you've wanted for months now. So you could say anything at this point. I could say I was gonna trade a Philly cheesesteak, Spike Lee, a couple of the showgirls, and I was going to sell you the team. Yeah, and I was going to sell the team and give you Charles Oakley or for Donovan Mitchell. I could say anything at this point. So I don't know. I think that this is a blessing in disguise because now you have to decide what you're going to do with Randall. You're going to keep him or you're going to trade him. This gives the front office an opportunity to see what they're going to do with Randall, and then on top of that, you can force Tibbs' hand and play the young guys. See what you got. You've already committed into a rebuild. You wanted to do a soft reboot with Donovan Mitchell. You're going to trade all these assets in order to get him. This is the Melo situation all over again.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Melo situation all over again. That's one reason why, like, I'm not really mad at them not getting him. And then I'm gonna keep it a stack. I think the situation in Cleveland is a lot better for Mitchell. So it's just like, because we got to think about it. If the Knicks did make that trade, what would that do? Put them in the play-in, put them 8th or 7th? At least with the Cavs, they have a legitimate shot. Yeah. They could possibly get bumped up depending on how the season go to at least be the top 4. You know what I mean? Best case.
Yeah.
They could be in the top 4, 5, 6. You know what I mean? So it's just like, for the Cavs, I'm so happy that it still ended up going that way, and they could actually possibly do something. They could be excited. You have another exciting team to look at. We're gonna look at the Cavs anyway, but now with Donovan Mitchell there, now you can see if the 2 small guards is gonna work actually in the league. Because the thing about it is, even though you think about the defense at the guard spot, you got to think about their defense in the front court is going to be massive.
Yeah, exactly. You got Mobley and you got what's his face right in the
Jared
back.
Allen.
Yeah, Jared Allen. You got them both. You got 2 interiors that
and like
let them come in the paint.
The only thing for Cleveland, like I feel like I wish they didn't have to give up Wiz Lowry marketing, because you could say what you want about his defense, and you can sit there and try to compare it to Obi. You could consider it to Obi. You can consider it to Obi Toppin or whatever. But Lowry Marketing was a fantastic team defender playing this year. Let's keep it 100, keep it honest. Obi ain't giving you that.
Yeah,
if we not that. He hasn't even been put in positions like that. And the way we can see the way his hips swivel, the way his hips move, how stiff that is. He wouldn't be even a good defender. But that's the one thing I sit there like missing Lowry Marketing in that trade for Cleveland. I would like to have seen them keep him. But, if you're going to get Mitchell, if you got a chance to get Mitchell and your upgrade, because we got to think about the Cavs. Their issue last year was that secondary ball handlers, Colin Sexton was injured. Yeah. So they was like, if Sexton was there, they could have beat Brooklyn. And we
Yeah.
look at it like, yeah, that's a possibility. But now you think about them beating Brooklyn at the time with Sexton. Now imagine putting the Donovan Mitchell there
In their
and
lineup, yeah.
going against them. Now that brings you up to even higher level. So for Cleveland, I'm so happy that they even got it. But I'm still like, at the end of the day, the Knicks needed an all-star caliber person because we could look at it no matter what anybody say. RJ is not, he's not looking like no all-star caliber player. Keep it 100.
He's still young,
I
bro.
mean, he's still young. He's still
But
young.
look,
But even at young ages,
he's
we can see what some people could be.
I mean, but you can see what he could be. I mean, you compare his stats to other all superstar rookies that have started off at this trajectory. I mean, look at Kobe. His numbers are on par with Kobe's. Not saying he's gonna be Kobe. I wanna make that perfectly clear. He's not. Nobody can be
Oh,
Kobe.
goodness.
But putting his numbers next to Kobe's first 3 years, I get it. He didn't really play like that. They didn't really give him PT, run like that. RJ had way more run. But when you look at his draft class and you look at everybody in that draft class, he's second in scoring.
Yeah,
He's second. And
don't get me wrong.
I think who was he behind? Ja Morant. Come on, bro. And you're comparing that to Ja? Ja's fantastic.
Yeah.
I just feel like
Josh, somebody who you go out there, and you feel like, oh, he can move the needle for a win.
yeah,
At times when RJ's out there, RJ's putting up numbers too, but you don't feel impactful like when he does what he do.
yeah, but if you had the superstar to pair RJ with, you could say that. You could say that RJ could be the perfect complement. He could be the Klay Thompson to a Steph Curry. He can be, that second star, not superstar. He could be that second star because that's what you need on teams nowadays. You need a second. They got to be a number one and they got to be a second option. And I believe that he could be that second option. Right now, they have him as a number one option, and it's not fruitful to their to the development of the other players. Yeah, you could win some games with that, but you're not going to beat the top teams in the league with that. You're going to beat the bottom teams in the league. You're going to win the games you're supposed to win. You're not going to win the games that you're not supposed to win. And those are the games that are ultimately going to get you into the playoffs. I think right now they're not even a play-in team. And I think with Mitchell, they would have been a play-in team, and that's it. Depending on everything that they
gave up all of that just to be in a play-in.
Just to be in a play-in. And that's not the goal. The goal is not to make it to the play-in. The goal is to make it into the finals. So with that said, I think that they was wise not to make the trade. Yeah. But where are you now? Where are you now? Are we in Tankathon? Are we gonna go get a French boy?
That's what they got. That's what they got to figure out. Because at the end of the day, if you ain't first, you last. So let's just be. They just got to put out a good product. At least give hope to having something else pull up there. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I agree.
But at the end of the day, get rid of Randall so you can open up space for Obi and
Cam,
the dude who just requested a trade.
Yeah, Cam. Yeah,
requesting trades. Like, who are you, Cam?
Yeah, right. I mean,
show your worth first, ho.
I mean,
I
look, man. I totally agree. I think that first of all, Randall's the oldest right now in this whole entire rise. I think in the front.
Rose?
Well, Rose is technically the oldest in Fournier, but when I'm talking about as far as in the starting lineup, because I don't feel like Fournier should start. I think that Grimes should start. Start your young guys. Start the guys that these are the guys that you believed in. You didn't want to trade Grimes. Well, then he needs to start. You ultimately said that you wanted to give up RJ. Honestly, I don't think that RJ was in. I think that the Jazz wanted RJ. I don't think that the Knicks really wanted to give up RJ.
That's what I think it was, that report and everything. Like, I don't know if the Knicks just offered that. Like, if they just offered it, like, yeah, you can have him. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's something the Jazz was pull up. Like, yo, yeah, we could take this.
Yeah, because there's another report out there that says that the Knicks counter offered to them including Grimes to including just RJ Barrett and 3 unprotected picks. And how do you turn that down? If ultimately, if the Jazz, if that's what they really want, if they really wanted RJ, but what I'm saying is, if they really wanted RJ,
they wanted those picks.
No, but they wanted the picks. They wanted the picks, and I think that they wanted more than just the 3 or 4 picks. They wanted 5 or 6. I mean, the Knicks have what, 8, 9? They want 5 or 6 of them, and
Yeah.
I don't blame
That's
them, but I
exactly.
do at the same time. You know, I'm not mad at the Knicks not giving up your assets, because at the end of the day, those picks could be worth way more in the long term. I mean, are you
Yeah.
giving up those picks? You're Leon Rose, you giving up those picks?
Leon, no. If it's just me, like how I feel about how certain teams need to start building and start
Mm,
moving. It's just too many times that, like, obviously we see disgruntled superstars who want to go. You drafted them, you
yeah.
leave, you don't have nothing. So I can
Mm,
understand management always wanting to get the best out of things, but I think we just see that how certain things are moving. Like a lot of the teams who are up and coming right now, we got to think about it. These are the teams that went through the draft and did things the way that they were supposed to go. Like
yeah.
after the superstar era, the super team era,
Yeah.
it's that super team era stuff right now is over. I don't care what you say. Right now, they're still teaming up at the end of their careers and stuff. But we see the teams that we looking forward that we like, yo, in the next few years,
Yeah.
we like, yo, this team, and let's look at it. All those teams are the same teams who were just picking up people through the draft, doing what they had to do. And I'm like, yo, instead, if the Knicks would just did that,
Yeah.
instead of going for Melo that first time and just say, you
Yeah.
know what, whatever, if we sign him, we sign him. And they would have signed him and still had the assets, they would have been picking up people that had pieces around him
You would have been able to put the
and been
team
able
that
to
you
put a
needed
better
around
product.
Melo.
Even
Yeah.
even if you ain't had those pieces, you would even if you ain't use those pieces to actually draft people, you would have had those
Mm.
pieces to actually get up better players.
And then on top of that, you look at what we gave up for Melo. You look at that whole ordeal. Going back to that plays a part in the trajectory of where the Knicks are right now, because the whole Melo
Mhm.
situation, Melo was coming to the Knicks regardless. He said it. I'm trade for me. Wait to the end of the season. I don't care. I want to go to New York. I want to go home. I want to play for the Mecca. That's what he wanted to do. You wait to the end of the year. Not only do you have the cap space, not only do you don't have to unload contracts, you don't got to worry about none of that stuff. You have your
Mhm.
draft assets, so now you could potentially pick up the pieces. You ultimately traded for Rose later on, right? You could have probably traded for Rose then at that point. And you look at, it took them 2 years to really get to the playoffs, to really make noise, and then they lose. You put the right pieces around them, they would have went to the finals that year.
Yeah.
That year they led the league in 3-point shooting. There was no team better than the Knicks when it came to perimeter shooting and perimeter defense. That was another huge thing. I mean, you had a 42-year-old rookie, Bergioni, coming off the bench and playing lockup defense. That's unheard of, bro. That is unheard of.
Yeah.
Imagine if they would have had the cap space and the draft assets around them at that point in time to actually put a full team around Melo. And then you're talking about the following year when you could have read up and you could have actually, okay, we got this far. Next year we're gonna go further because we're gonna actually do something and put the team around him. They didn't do that because they didn't have anything. Now you gotta figure out the cap. You gotta figure out what you're gonna do. At that point in time, there wasn't even a real luxury tax. There wasn't no, like, there was a luxury tax, but there was no like ceiling. What Golden State is paying right now for going over the luxury tax, they wasn't paying that back then.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you couldn't put a real team around? I mean, instead of Ray Allen going to the Heat, Ray Allen could have came to the Knicks.
Yeah.
I mean, and I understand it's what ifs, it's semantics, it's you're putting these scenarios, but this is a real scenario. Had you had the assets to actually put the team that Melo needed around him, Melo could possibly have a ring. New York could have possibly seen a parade coming right down 42nd, and that's a fact.
Yeah. And like I said, it could be. We'll see where it goes this year. It could be a thing where like, all right, cool, we ain't get Donovan, and they actually made some moves. Maybe they were competent, and made some things happen. So it's only time in the future. We'll see how this goes,
I mean,
and
yeah,
if this was really like the bad that a lot of people were going, because a lot of people wanted him, because
yeah,
it's just we haven't had anything since Melo.
since Melo, yeah, that's a fact.
So it's like you just really wanted him to have a competent team, but at the end of the day, do you want to win? Like that's what I really want to do is win, and that's like getting Donovan and just giving away a lot of shit, and still being at the bottom of the East.
I mean, you look at the Heat. The Heat don't have a bona fide superstar. People try to argue that Bam or Jimmy Butler's is a superstar. No, they're stars. They're
They're stars,
stars.
yeah,
They're
all star
stars that
game
know how
players.
to play within the system that they're playing in. They're really good at what they do, but they're not superstars. They're not. They're not
Facts.
superstars. But they overachieve. The reason why is because they play within their system. They know their roles and they execute. That's that's what it comes down to in the NBA.
That's
Execution.
also building that culture and getting that going. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, the Knicks is a sideshow. Let's keep it 100.
Yeah.
They're a sideshow. So it's like when you come here, it's like you got to create your own culture. And Randall just getting away with whatever the fuck he want to do. It's like when you go to certain places, you can't do that. If you go, if Randall, let's keep it 100. If Randall was out in the Warriors, you think he would be acting like this?
He wouldn't
Like
be acting
even if it was that losing,
on the
say that
Lakers.
losing, exactly. Say that losing season with the Warriors just 2 years ago. Even back then, Randall probably wouldn't even be acting like that because he's like, all right, they got a culture, they got something situated. So let me just be this, that, and third. But the next week they ain't got nothing.
Yeah, if there's no culture and there's no consistency, then you can expect your players to move with some dignity.
Right here is a chance to get some consistency, some culture, and get something going, and just be like, you know what, we got Brunson. Despite everything, you know what I mean, how you can feel about him, he's just comes in, does what he got to do, and gives you the best possible effort there is. RJ does the same thing, and it's like, yo, these are the guys that you're moving forward with. So now when other people come in and they see that, like, all right, cool, we got to move like that. And as these guys get better in the next 2 seasons, where you could possibly get something could shake from there, you'd be like, all right, cool. All right, we got some solid guys who do this, who make sure they work and who built themselves up to some all-stars and just do whatever.
But you can't have a cancer on your team. You can't have that one guy that's just like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
No matter what you say about Fournier just falls in line and chills and does what he got to do. And if he doesn't get what he wants, he just chills in the bench. He does what he does. You know what I mean? But if Randall on the side, it's just gonna be like, oh my god, like you gotta get rid of Randall.
All of that, pass me the ball. Okay,
you're not gonna
play
tough on defense, no nothing.
So,
like,
nah, bro.
Fuck out of here.
There has to be, like you said. Like you said, there has to be a clear cut culture. But my thing is, it's the reason why we're not gonna have this culture is because we don't have the coach for the culture. I have nothing against Tibbs. I love Tibbs, but Tibbs is not the right coach for this team. I'm sorry, he's not. I think that he'll be an excellent assistant coach on your defensive coordinator. You know,
I think so, but you just need a person who's going to sit there and galvanize the
rally
troops,
your troops,
and get them right and have them, feng shuiing.
Yep. And if you don't have that, the team is never going to be able to move forward. You're never going to be able to develop your key guys that you consider your core. You're never going to be able to develop them.
Tibbs is just out there coaching. Tibbs is just out there coaching.
I need you to
his culture for philosophy.
Yeah,
like instead of getting the people together, like
I need a coach that's gonna be like, look, I understand we're down like 5 right now, and we lost our last couple of 3 games because we was down 5 and we wasn't able to close it out. But look, guys, we do this, we do that, we get into position. All we need is one stop. I don't see Tibbs doing that. I see Tibbs like, all right, look, we're gonna do this, but you know what? All right, cool. Randall, do what you got to do. Like, no, Randall, you're on the bench because right now you're messing up. You're messing up things, and I need you on the bench right now. Obi, you've been going off for the past 6 minutes. I need you on the court right now. There's no reason why I'm pulling out guys that are hot. You don't pull out guys that are hot in favor of your vets at all. Period. I don't care. You want your vets to close the game? Well, then your vets should be performing the entire game in order to close out the game. If the young guys are performing and they're doing what they got to do not mess up what's going on the court just to appease the guys that's been invested in the league. I don't care how many years you've been in the league. There's no accolades. You have no finals MVPs. You've never won a ring. I need you on a bench right now. Period.
Yeah.
And if you got a problem with it, then guess what? Next game, you could ride the bench too. And until you don't have a problem with it, then we can insert you back into the lineup. But right now, since you have a problem, I do need you on the bench because you're messing things up right now, bro.
Yeah, but it's tough, you know what I mean? When one of your owners, your owners invested 340 mil between three players, and one of those players, got to sit the bench because he's being a
But but
baby.
but
Like
but
that's
that's but,
money.
but that's what it is, though.
Sunken cost fallacy that they got to live with. Be like, all right, we spent this money. You know what I mean? We just got to let it go. Like it is what it is,
Look,
and
you
that's what
think
some of these owners need to be, and just move with
no
what's going on with the team.
facts. If you think Curry is gonna go out there stinking it up and not listen to Kerr, like, look, I need you to. Poole got the hot hand right now. Poole got the
Let's keep
hot
it
hand.
100. We already know, like you said, we already know how this story goes, man. Curry was coming off the bench.
It's the culture. It's the culture. If you don't have the and it starts with the coach. See, coach. See, culture. It starts with the coach. You have to have not only the gall, but the balls to sit your $100 million player down and say, look, this isn't it. And unless you could change how you're moving, and this is what I need you to do, then I cannot play you because we are not going to win games like this. Period. And this is what it's really coming down to. So unless Tibbs could do this year, Tibbs has to be you keep Randall. You could keep Randall. Go ahead. Keep Randall. But if Tibbs cannot sit any one of his, but not just Randall, I don't care who it is, Barrett, Fournier, I don't care who it is, Mitch, if he cannot sit that player down and get them to play team ball with no fallacy, then Tibbs has to go. It's not even the players at this point. The coach has to go. The coach has to install the culture, and the players have to fall in line.
Facts. And it's just like, yeah, we gotta get something else that works, man, because I can't lie. They playing these inside big, man, look, we just need to start doing something different too, because all he want to do is play Mitchell Robinson because of defense, but you ain't got a point guard who's good enough in the pick and roll to bring his offensive ability, his lob abilities out. You got Randall who want to get to the basket with Mitch is right standing at the basket. It's just a lot of bad things all together in one. It's just like his philosophy with what he has isn't going to work. So he's got to adjust. He's not trying to adjust. So it's just like something's got to give.
It's time to move on. I think that the way this season is going to go, mark my words, Tibbs is going to get fired within the first 30 games. The first 30 games of the season, Tibbs is going to get fired. And honestly, I think
I would pray for times like this.
I think that it shouldn't get to 30 games. I think that he should have been let go at the end of this season. I think that they should have searched for a coach that they feel like could move forward with the culture with young guys. I think that there's a ton of excellent, talented coaches out there that are more modern than Tibbs, because Tibbs is still old school. And you do need the old school, but you need the old school as an assistant. You can't have the old school as your head coach. You want to if you want to say any coach in the NBA right now is an old school coach, it's probably Pop, but Pop is more modern than half of these coaches out there. Pop changes his philosophy, his way of thinking, his way of getting his guys out there to perform depending on who he's employing out there. So, if anything, Pop's probably the oldest coach in the league right now. It's probably the most modern. You want to think about it. He plays his lineups and he adjusts his offensive and his defensive schemes tailored to who's out there.
Yeah.
Tibbs is not doing that. We need a coach that's going to be able to employ modern philosophies with the old school mentalities. And how you do that is you get a coach in here that's young, that's hungry, that's going to galvanize the troops, and you have a whole bunch of assistants around them. The thing that hurt Tibbs the most is, I believe, the assistant coaches that left. Mike Woodson. Who was the coach that just went to Indiana?
Shoot, you know me and names.
Yeah, but they lost so many coaches within these past 2 years, and I think that hurt Tibbs so much. You had a bunch of guys that overachieved, made it to the playoffs. Nobody pictured the Knicks getting to the playoffs at all.
Nope.
They get to the playoffs, they lose in the first round, but you have coaches that you lost since then. Mike Woodson being one of the big coaches that I could think of right now that we lost, and that helped so much and that was so pivotal for the bench. When you lose your assistants, when you lose those guys that are ultimately galvanizing the troops because your head coach isn't doing it, this is the product that you're left with. The Knicks underachieved. After overachieving, they underachieved. How do you do that? How do you go from being a top 4 team in the league to being bottom 10, 11?
Not even make it to the playoffs.
Not even making it into the play-in. You're not even fighting for a chance to get into the play-in at this point. You're more close to the lottery than you are to getting into the playoffs. And this is what it comes down to. So my prediction for the season for the Knicks, Tibbs get fired in the first 30 days. I say 30 days. 30 games, 30 days, 30 games. He should be fired in the next 10 days. But
you're going to training camp with a new coach.
Yeah, first 30 games, whoever's on that bench is going to be the interim coach until the end of the season. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Hope so.
It's a fact. You look at Jazz, look at the Jazz. Look at the way that they've underachieved for 5 years straight. 5 years they've made it to the playoffs. 5 years they've had top 3, 4 seeds. Matter of fact, last season, prior to this season, they had the number 1 seed. Still couldn't get to the finals. So what happens? Mutual split. We're getting rid of you to get a different coach in here so we can have a different culture so we can move forward. We're getting rid of these guys that have performed at high levels but haven't made it over the hump. Okay, Gobert, we just robbed Timberwolves. We just fleeced the Cavs. We unloaded these guys. Where ultimately Clarkson is gone, Bogdan is gone, Conley is gone. We mark my words, they're gone. Next 2 weeks, they're gone. They're gone before training camp. We're gonna move forward with young guys, and I would you?
They're not even gonna show up.
Would you? Hey, if you're Clarkson, are you showing up? Yeah, bro, trade me. I'm gone. Y'all should have put me in a package to go to the Cavs.
Threw me in there.
Right? I'm going back to the Cavs if I'm Clarkson. Well, Clarkson was on the Cavs, wasn't he? I'm going back to the Cavs.
So. I don't know. I know was he with the Lakers?
Yeah, I think when the Lakers traded, when they first traded him.
Oh yeah, because he went with the Larry Nance and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and then he went to the Jazz. But yeah, if I'm Clarkson, I'm gone. I'm gonna be a 6th man on a team where I can actually try to compete for a championship. Matter of fact, send me to Philly. send me to Philly. I want to go to Philly. I want to come off the bench and do damage while Harden and Embiid rest. You know what I'm saying? Like I look. I like the way the Jazz is going. I like the way they're moving because they're moving like OKC. They got all these picks. Now let's see what they do with them because ain't nobody going there in free agency. Nobody want to go to Utah.
Nobody
want to go to Utah. You better draft well and pray for the best. That's
nobody. That's why I'm not mad about Sexton going there. I think Sexton gonna bring an attitude and a grit to Utah.
I agree. And on top of that, he's gonna get a lot more burn because I believe that if he would have stayed in Cleveland, he wasn't gonna
second fiddle. Yeah, so
he was coming off the bench. He's behind. He's definitely behind Garland. But
he wasn't coming off the bench. They was
bro.
Play
LeVert. They got LeVert, and LeVert earned it over him, and LeVert proved that he belonged in the starting lineup. So I mean, now it's a conversation. Now you can have that conversation. Are you gonna have LeVert come off the bench, or are you gonna have him at the 3? Because LeVert is a little undersized as well. Do you want him at the 3? Because you're gonna be playing undersized 1 through 3. You're playing undersized until you get to the 4 and 5.
Nah, he gonna come off the bench, but He definitely coming off the bench. They got a small forward though for that. I forgot who
Yeah,
it
nah, they
was.
yeah, yeah, they got a young guy that's nice. He's all right. I like the Cavs, bro. I think I put the Cavs up right now. I put them up with Memphis and New Orleans. They're that
Oh
team
yeah,
that's
yeah, they in
going.
that tier as far as
Yeah,
like
like
you excited for them and
yeah,
hopefully they.
because I'm excited. I really want to see what is in store for Memphis. I think Memphis, they get everything together, and Ja just because Ja's already there at that level. You need that next person to come in, and I think if JJ you takes that step and becomes that Bam ish player, and he becomes a star, he becomes all-star level player. I think that they'll be all right. Memphis has the right pieces. New Orleans, on the other hand, Brandon freaking
Yeah,
Ingram. I'm
my
excited for the New
guy.
Orleans. I'm excited to watch them.
Uh-huh.
I'm
That
excited. I
guy
was excited during the
stretched.
playoffs. We was talking about it. It was like, yo, they might make some noise. Ultimately,
Yeah,
they lost, but I'm still
yeah.
excited. I'm still excited for them. I think they're probably my sleeper team going into the season. Like, if not one of them, biggest one. Charlotte was my biggest sleeper coming into the season prior to
Hmm.
Bridges. But I think if
Oh yeah, but
you
that's
send
the
Randall over there, I think if you send Randall over there, I think Charlotte has enough to make noise. Because ain't no way MJ is letting Randall wild out on the court. MJ will be on that bench so quick. He's coming down from the
nah,
owner
yeah.
box. You think Randall gonna be able to act up in Charlotte the way he can in New York right now?
Sure. I don't know what he gonna act up at. Yeah, he can't act. I don't think he can act up anywhere
Nah, he
the
can't.
way he could
It's
in New
just New York.
York right
It's just New
now.
York. It's New York. Because Tibbs caters to vets. To vets. I, I'm done talking about the Knicks, man. I'm done.
Thank goodness.
Oh
Thank
man.
goodness.
Oh man. Before we end the show, I do want to just bring up Russ and Pat Beverly having a whole conversation saying that they could coexist. What's your thoughts?
That's what they said. Oh
Yeah,
shoot.
that's
I
what they
mean,
said.
they
They
make
said they
they.
spoke, and that and Jeannie Buss actually said that Russ was their best player last year. And you're saying that with LeBron on your team, but she said that Russ was their best player last year. And she says the reason why is because he was the most consistent and he wasn't hurt.
I mean, I guess if you put that into
Yeah, into
perspective, you're
perspective, yeah.
like, I maybe because he played all, but it's just like he ain't really add much value for what wanted, which was a championship. Like
Right.
he should, certain games, if you're supposed to be Westbrook that you still think you are in your head, you gotta lead these. You gotta get some of these wins.
Yeah, facts. Facts.
You gotta just will him to
Facts.
some wins. So it's
Facts.
like I understand consist. You probably giving him the consistency award. He's the Iron Man award, but he's not the best for the team.
Yeah.
No.
Nah, I agree.
So it's like, come on, bro. You gotta relax.
Take it easy.
Because yeah, please take it easy. Because LeBron was the
Yeah, LeBron was still a top 5 player in the league last year. So
bro
at
at
age
age
38,
38. So
you
it's
know.
like, come on.
So yeah,
So, but them coexisted. I can see it because it's like at the end of the day, let's
they're
keep it
almost
100.
they're almost the same game. The only difference is that Westbrook has more of athleticism. But I mean,
I
when you
don't know
look at their
about the same
mentality, they have
game.
the same mentality.
Yeah,
You attack,
I said
attack,
no,
attack.
please. Um, yeah, and they keep on people's head. He just one does it on offense, one does it on defense,
Exactly.
and it's just literally like, all right, cool. The thing about it is like, all right, you injured me a while ago. And we're making millions now. I'm still Westbrook. Look who I've become. You're
Yeah.
still Pat Bev. Like Pat Bev. Like, so Westbrook could throw it away. Pat Bev is somebody who always had to fight. So it's like, look, I was just fighting. That's who I am. Now you're on my team. So they can coexist together, but it's still going to be something back there regardless. You're going to talk shit. Cause when somebody's gonna get mad and be like, "Oh, that's why you had to injure somebody to get where you at." You know what I mean? You don't play defense, But anyway, I think they'll coexist for a little while, but until Russ get traded, because I'd trade Russ in a heartbeat. But nobody wants him, so shoot.
Unless he's willing to come off the bench, which he's not at this point. So, I mean,
He's still a superstar in his mind.
I'll take him.
Take him where?
I'll take him in Milwaukee. Have him come off the bench.
I
You
don't know.
have somebody that could attack downhill in Giannis, and then Giannis goes to the bench, and then you have another person that can attack downhill in Westbrook. I mean, that's crazy.
But then it becomes those times where they got the minutes together.
I would.
You don't want those.
I would stagger those lineups.
But how much staggering can you do?
I mean,
they're not going to play together.
Very true. Very true. I mean, where else can you put him then? That's the question. Where else can you put him?
Exactly, and it's not going to be enough minutes for him to even get his flow that he doesn't really need because he doesn't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's not going to have a flow.
Him?
He's not going to be nothing.
Yep.
I mean,
Golden State can use him. You can use them for assists.
What? Use them for what?
In the second unit. Use them for assists. Use them
for
assists and rebounds.
The thing about it is you had somebody, right? You got somebody who's like that already. Is Draymond. You got to play Draymond. At least Draymond going to play defense. Russ ain't going to play defense. And then we had somebody like that who really couldn't shoot, and Gary Payton Jr. But the thing about it, Gary Payton gave you so much defense.
Value. Yeah, he added value.
Yeah.
He added value.
Now, Russ, your value is running downhill in transition.
Yeah.
Grabbing, stealing some rebounds and forcing assists.
And forcing assists.
Like your entire game is about force. You just put the fucking hammer to the nail.
Yeah.
That's who you are. Like you don't have anything else.
Man, that's tough. It's tough, man. It's tough when nobody wants you.
Bro, it's not even that. It's just he just doesn't change. It's not that nobody wants him. If you just take some of that energy and put that on defense, you'll become something valuable. It's the mentality that has to change.
Facts. But anyway, that's our show. Oh man, next week, 2K is gonna be 2K season. So of course, there gotta be more news going on. And we will be here for all the coverage. I actually got a lot lined up for next week. Next week will be a longer episode. I got a lot lined up. I got questions. We're gonna do some live things going on. We're gonna have some giveaways and stuff like that. It's gonna be pretty dope. So I hope everybody's able to tune in. Shout out to Kevin Kenny who popped up, sent us the like and everything. Boy. Shout out to the boy. Yeah, man. Thanks. Take us up out of here.
Y'all already know the vibes. It's been a while, but we back. Like, we back. We here, man. But you already know the vibes.